Hey y'all, it's time for Rolling Dice and Taking Names. In this episode, the guys review War Machine Manhattan Project, Infiltrators, and Galactic Renaissance. Plus, they talk about the nominees for this year's Toy Hall of Fame and will pick their favorites.
Hello and welcome to Rolling Dice and Taking Names. This is episode 333, The Hustle. My name is Marty.
I'm Tony.
And before we get into this episode, y'all, I think we just need to take a moment. We're all about having levity and having a good time and stuff, but I do want to mention what's been going on here in our little state of North Carolina, here in the United States. If you haven't heard, we had a massive hurricane that came through and really hit the western part of North Carolina really hard. I think it's, Tony, one of the hardest it's been hit like since the early 1900s. I know there was a flood in like Asheville in 1916. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where so Tony, in your job, you have to keep up with a lot of this stuff. Was it expected to hit the mountains this hard with all the flooding and everything?
No, I mean, it was definitely a major Hurricane 4, coming in the panhandle of Florida in an area that has been hit, was already hit. So, down in Florida around Perry, yeah, they were pretty well devastated with the storm surge all on the west coast of Florida. But for the mountains, we were anticipating the rain. We were anticipating, some of the winds. But what really got us was all the rain before the hurricane. So everybody knows, after a lot of rain, the trees and the root system, the ground's soft and trees can come down very easily. And in a mountainous area, when I was controlling the river for Duke Energy, it was, hey, water runs downhill. And the higher the hill, the faster it is. So yes, that was unprecedented. And in my 36 years at the power company, I've never seen anything like it. It was just unreal. All the images we're getting from our crews. Yeah, it's sad. It is really sad.
I can't imagine. So there's a lot of towns that were in the mountains. A lot of them are touristy, scenic type areas. They're obviously built in valleys and typically beside rivers. That's where old towns were built hundreds of years ago, right? And so, like you said, all the water runs down the hill, runs into the tributary, right into the rivers. And I guess it hit hard because a lot of these little towns I visited, vacation and stuff, and you see images like of Chimney Rock, which is a very popular place. I mean, it's just gone. And Vanessa, my wife, her and her friends were just there a couple months ago. She showed me the street they walked on, and it's just decimated. Yeah. It's just not there anymore. And so we're recording 4 days after this, and there are a lot of people still without power. Obviously, you know more about that than I do because you're working, helping try to get that restored, and a lot of people without food, without water. When this episode comes out, there are probably still people be in need. If you'd like to donate, I know you can give to the Red Cross. Samaritan Purse is taking money. Right down the street from me, there's a brewery that's collecting water. I think we're going to go buy water and give it to them. They're going to take it up into the mountains because people just don't have water. Perishable food's gone because nobody has electricity to keep everything fresh,
One of the things we learned in all of our prep, and it's what my job is, one of the things you don't think about is we think about loss of communications, but you don't think about if you lose communications or internet and then you lose, cellular and you lose power, a lot of people don't have ways of paying for anything. And so our crews had no way of paying, so we had to get them cash in order to go up and pay because cash is king during these times. So prep. If you ever, as you look for your prep kits, if you live in areas where they are hard hit, I highly recommend making sure you have cash somewhere because, once those credit card machines and ATMs go down, you're not going to get it and they're not going to charge. And the barter system kind of sort of works. Probably in a couple of days, it's going to get pretty desperate up there. I'm with you. It's just, and don't forget about the pets and all the animals and everything that's also going to be very displaced. Just unreal, dude.
I can't remember what the death toll was just in North Carolina. In the 20, you may know more than I. I mean, the storm has hit a lot, right? South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, everything. What's interesting, though, is not interesting, but just coincidental is that a couple of days now, Vanessa and I were going to go to two mountain towns. We're going to go to a place called Bryson City and Waynesville. And on Saturday, we saw a picture from Waynesville, the main street. It has a bunch of shops. We were going to go to the antique shops and all this stuff. There's like a river going down Main Street, and it was halfway up the doors on the street. So it's just devastating. And it's going to take a lot of time for them to recover. And like I said, a lot of these are resort towns. So a lot of livelihoods were hurt. So I know I hate to start on a downer, but I just want people to know a lot of people wrote and checked up on us, and I appreciate that. They didn't know where we were in North Carolina. Here we had some wind, we had some rain, had some debris, had to clean up, had a power out for a little while. That's nothing compared to what others obviously had to deal with.
But even that, the Catawba River, which runs right through this, which those are the tributaries too. And I've never seen us have to release as much water as we did from our dams. If people, we've flooded out. We didn't flood out. The Mother Nature flooded out everybody. And if without the dams, it would have been a whole lot worse. But people can argue that all they want. But if you go out to YouTube and do a WSOC Cowans, Cowans, Ford Dam release, when they're opening one of those floodgates, it's unreal. It's a marvel. You worked up there. You know what those things look like. The diesel engines that sit on top of those things, they're 32 feet across, and they lifted three of them. They got pictures, one of them fully open. So you got a 32-foot hole, about 16 feet high or something like that. Just think of the amount of water that's coming out of that thing. So it's unreal.
Anyway.
So let's take it down even more. Come on. Let's
Yeah, so right before we got on, y'all, my son texted me a message and said, I don't know if you saw this, but Pete Rose passed away. That was a hard one for me because I grew up a Reds fan because my grandmother was a Reds fan. And one of her all-time favorite players was Pete Rose. So I remember sitting on her couch and we'd pull for the big red machine. It's one of those things that I didn't expect it. Came out of nowhere. It's like, wow, that's unexpected because I always liked him. He went through a lot of junk with the Hall of Fame and all this. And it's one of those things we felt like he should have been in the Hall of Fame by now. And now it's upsetting that he passed away before he got a chance to go in and all this. But it's more of that an emotional attachment that I have with my grandmother over this player. And so that one kind of hit kind of hard too.
Yeah, I understand. The big red machine. It also is part of the fact that that's the team you and I watched growing up. We watched, Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose, third base, Concepcion, and oh my gosh.
Joe Morgan.
Joe Morgan. That's it.
Yeah.
And of course, Johnny Bench. But it's one of those things that it's just like, man, it just shows that we're getting old. And it sucks.
Yeah.
Because our favorite players are passing away. It's just like, man.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's why this is called The Hustle in honor of Charlie Hustle. So, all right, so that's it. We had to get the heavy stuff out of the way. Let's talk about some exciting stuff. Last week, you and I attended our local convention, Mega Moose, which is ran by our good friend and game group partner, Mark Kell. Mm-hmm. He ran another fantastic event. He was pushing almost 400 players. 400 attendees this year, which is a record for him. It's, as always, it's ran very well. He brings in the food trucks. It's just a well-organized event, and it just keeps getting better and better, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. It's tables everywhere, plenty of vendors, plenty of opportunities to play, separate area for the RPGers and the board gamers and all this fun stuff that's going on. And then, of course, he supports, people the ability to sell games. We ran the Rolling Dice Taking Names auction, which was a huge success. And those who participated, thank you so much for being part of that. And I really enjoy my one day. One day I'll get there and be there 2 days. One day I'll figure out when I can be there over the weekend. But yes, and it's not that bad of a drive from Charlotte. It's only 45 minutes. And I saw where, not the Holiday Inn Express, where, if you stay there, you're a lot smarter. But the Days Inn, it looked like they had refurbed as well. So, maybe that area is growing.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I ended up staying at the Holiday Inn Express that's right beside there. Our other game group friend, Bert, had a room there that night. His son was not coming in until the next day, so he had an extra spot for me, so I took him up on it. And it was really nice just to be able to get up and walk across the parking lot to the convention center next day as opposed to driving 45 minutes. So, I was there all day on Friday and just hung out, play a lot of different games, and all the games you're going to be hearing about in this episode, actually, we got to play at the show.
I don't know how to move off of that other than you weren't at Bojangles. I thought you and Bert would be at Bojangles on Saturday morning.
Again, it's because I was already there. Otherwise, I went on Friday morning.
Okay, well, good for you. I showed up, nobody was there. I was like, isn't that what we're supposed to go? Go to the Bojangles?
You didn't tell me, otherwise I would have.
It was spur of the moment. Okay, what can I say? And
what'd you get?
What I always get a a steak biscuit.
You like the steak.
I like steak.
I've kind of fallen. I used to always get a sausage, but I think I'm into the I always say Chick-fil-A, the Cajun filet biscuit.
That's good.
Which I really enjoy.
So, man, good stuff there.
So one thing I wanted to mention that came up in the last episode, they were like, "Hey guys, did y'all know there was something tacked on at the end of y'all's episode? It was like an announcement for like another show or something." We're trying an experiment. There was a group called Potteration who was setting up like a nerdy network. This is a group of podcasts that have to do with a bunch of different pop culture nerdy things, gaming, etc. And the whole purpose of it is to have ads that might be automatically inserted into the show. So it's a lot like other podcasts that you may listen to, where you'll be listening here long and there'll be a break and there'll be like an ad. And Tony, I always wondered when I listen to podcasts, it's like, and it could be like 2 years old, and I hear an ad that's relevant to today. I was like, how do they do that? Because we pre-record our ads and stick them in there and forever. So I didn't realize there was this technology to where you could just have a marked ad spot, and then whatever appropriate ad can be put in there regardless of whenever you hear it. So you listen to podcasts. I guess you've probably heard that before.
Yeah, I have. And I even looked into it for us at the beginning on how to do that to where we could periodically go in and insert new of our recorded ads, so that like if Game Toppers Kickstarter's over and someone listens to the one where we've recorded the ads for their Game Toppers Kickstarter, they wouldn't hear that anymore because it's over. It's done. By the way, you can still continue to late pledge on the Game Toppers Kickstarter, just pointing that out. But yes, and I of course didn't understand how this worked, and you had to go do all this hosting stuff. And I'm like, man, this seems just complicated other than you and I spilling out stuff. So I said, we'll just let it go. So I was interested that you found this, that they reached out to us. It would be interesting to see how this is going to work.
This is kind of an experiment mode right now. If this doesn't work, we just pull out of it. So what will happen is there is going to be an allocated spot right before the outro where I'm going to mark where an ad could be inserted, and also at the end of the show. So if you ever hear anything and it's not us, that's where it's coming from. Now, one of the reasons why we're doing this is because sponsorships are very fragile right now. The board game market is down a little bit and stuff like that. And there's a lot of things that are constantly changing everywhere. I mean, we'll pull back the curtain. One big thing is miniature market, right? We started working the miniature market. That person that we worked with sold to Asmodee, and then Asmodee sold to somebody else. And now there's been other changes in there. We've been able to be consistent all along, but we also know that because things change so quickly, any day now, a sponsor can come up and say, hey, hey, thanks, but we're just not going to be able to do this anymore. And what this allows us to do is we don't have to work on that relationship. It just automatically happens. These ads, and by the way, you and I, Tony, we curated the ads. We had a bunch of different types of ads that could be inserted. So we removed all the ones on adult entertainment and alcohol and partying and stuff like that. So they had this whole list of things here. You could pick the ones you do not want played. And we went through and kind of curated it to make sure they're family friendly and appropriate ads.
Yes. And if y'all wanted to hear these, let us know. We can uncheck boxes. And wait, no. I mean, it was kind of like when I was in the storm room, they kept showing these, we were watching the Weather Channel, and there were all these bra commercials on during the middle of the day. I'm like, I don't know if this is really appropriate, but we need to see what the storm's doing here. But okay. Oh, anyway, yes, I'm excited to see how this works out, and hopefully it'll be decent. And how long do these usually run? About 30 seconds?
I'm not sure. 60 to 90. So let us know as these crank up. I don't think they've started yet. As they crank up, if you find them, hey, this is annoying. Hey, there was this ad I didn't think was appropriate. Let us know, because these just automatically get inserted. So we don't know what is going to show up. So give us some feedback. I tried to we purposely put them towards the end of the show, right before the outro. So that's where it would happen. So all of our regular ads will happen before then, and it would just be right there at the outro. Okay, enough of that. Tony, in the last episode, you had a part of your body removed.
The old gallbladder. God, after this one comes out, I will be off of restrictions. Very excited about that. And my super glue is finally peeling off, and I look like I've been in a knife fight. So, but no, hey, I was unconscious for it, but that's what it is. But you also had some fun recently.
Well, it's not nearly what you did. I had a wisdom tooth removed.
How many do you have? now?
2.
Now, okay, because
I had, okay, so this is a weird story. So I think I've talked about this before. I had all 4.
Yeah.
A few years ago, one started coming through the bottom left, started causing me problems, so they went and pulled it. I went, great, okay. Right after that happened, the bottom right one started poking through. And what can happen is food can get stuck down in there and cause problems and stuff and cause an abscess. So I said, I guess I got to go get this one removed too. So I had another one pulled. Let's hope the other 2 stay where they are and don't move.
So they've never broken through to be wild. Because mine, I got all 4 pulled because all of them, the doctor looked at them, 2 were coming in and they weren't right. And the other 2 weren't coming out, but one was going to be all nasty. So when I was 17, they pulled all 4 of them for me. But after you had the good stuff to numb you, now comes the real pain. That hole in that gum from when the stitches come, and you have to make sure that stays clean and keep the food out. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, which is what I'm dealing with right now. Now, I will say I was not put under. When you just have one tooth removed, you basically get they give you a pill to take the hour before. It's not Valium. It's some sort of thing to kind of take away anxiety. I can't remember what the name of it was. And then I did the laughing gas.
Yeah.
Have you ever done laughing gas, sodium pentothal? I don't know how to explain it. I guess it just relaxes you. You kind of feel like you're floating. So you're very conscious of everything that's going on around you. But you're just kind of really chill. So, of course, you're numb to the nines. You can't feel a thing. And I just feel him doing stuff. It only takes like 5 minutes. It's so fast. I just feel him doing stuff in there. And I just remember sitting there and I heard crack. And I went, did he break a tooth? That's the only thing I remember. And then all of a sudden I felt like strings in my mouth, the sutures he was putting in. And the next thing he tapped me on the shoulder and said, all right, you're good. I took this thing off. So while you're while you're on it, you kind of don't have a good concept of time, but you kind of remember what was going. It's just a trip. Okay. So yeah, for the first 3 or 4 days, you got to ice pack and all this stuff and got to make sure you don't get dry socket. But now that the swelling is going down, the hole is there. Yeah. So yeah,
you got to deal with that. See, I've never had that done, and I've had plenty of root canals, but that's just straight numb. That's no anything like that. It's just them making sure that they can do that and then suck all that out. That's always a fun thing. So, man, well, I'm glad you got done.
Yeah. So, like I said, other 2 wisdom states, stay where you are, don't move, you're good, and we'll be good too. Now, I'm bringing that up because you and I are getting ready to do a special taste buds, and I have to make a modification to this taste bud because I'm not supposed to chew anything crunchy.
Well, do you want to put this off?
No, I am ready. I am excited. I have a solution that we'll talk about. Let's hit our jingle.
Taste buds. Taste buds. Taste buds. 2 incredible stuff. Taste buds. 2 incredible stuff. Taste buds. They're just a bunch of.
All right, Tony, I think everybody has tried what we're getting ready to try, especially on Discord. They let us know about this, and everybody's been having a good time trying it out. And what are we having today? We got 2 things.
Well, one of the things we're going to have is a Coca-Cola Coke Zero Oreo flavor. And then we are also going to, that will help us wash down the Oreo Coca-Cola flavor. That it's so cool that the red side has all different designs. They did an amazing job. Oh, I got a bonus.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, the chocolate side of my cookie is flipped inside. I always call those bonus Oreos.
Same here.
Oh,
I got one like that.
I'm looking forward to this. I know Donna has read some things about it. When she saw it, I brought them home and said, well, hurry up and get to the taste buds. And then we disappeared on vacation. So I'm ready. So what do you want to do first?
So let's do the cookie first.
Okay. What's Vanessa doing in there? Is she going to chew that up and spit that in your mouth? I'm kidding.
No.
I thought that was your solution.
What I have is what goes with Oreos. I'm going to dunk the Oreo into milk and make it soft.
Okay. You can do that.
All right. I am ready.
All right. Let's do this thing.
Let's try this. Soft Oreo for me. All right. I know there's supposed to be like Pop Rocks in here. I'm not getting that yet.
I did. Yep. I'm tasting them. They're popping in my mouth.
I think I taste what's supposed to be Coke. So it definitely has an Oreo flavor, but somewhere in there, I do taste what would be Coke.
Yeah. If you put your tongue against the top of your mouth, you should be able to get the Pop Rock flavor. You should be hearing it now.
I hear it.
Mm-hmm. There it is. Yep. And
oh, duh. I was going, why would they put Pop Rocks? Because it's the fizz of the Coke, you idiot. It just hit me.
And supposedly the red portion of the cookie is a different taste than the chocolate portion. Don't know about that. And of course, the filling has the Pop Rocks.
Now I just hear the popping in my head. So I grabbed 2 of these. I really want to be able to try it.
I'm happy to try these. I'm glad I got to try them. But lemon Oreos are still and will always be my favorite Oreo. What's yours?
Well, lemon's good. There's been so many different flavors. I do just like the classic, but I have had the lemon. It's one of those things, though, if you didn't know it was Coke, and somebody said, what flavor, would you guess Coke, though?
No.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't have no clue. I would be like, what is this? So I twisted it just to taste the red. See, I'm out of milk at my house, and I went to the grocery store to get some. And because of the hurricane, there was the deliveries can't get through. The grocery store was empty. It's like we're back in pandemic times.
Speaking of more depressing news, tonight could be the night that the port union workers start on strike, which will shut down ports on the East Coast.
They're going to figure this out. They're going to get this done. No automation. Don't even get me started about unions. I'm from the South. I'll leave it at that.
No, I hear you. But if that happens, that could affect game imports, actually.
Matter of fact, my 3-year game from Arcane Wonders, Freedom 5, is on a boat from California to Georgia right now. Guess what's going to happen to it? It's going to sit in a freaking port. Stupid thing.
Oh.
All right.
So what else we got? So we got the Coke Zero Oreo. So I'm going to pop this bad boy open. I got the tiny little can. Yeah. I didn't find the bottles.
No, these were the only thing they had at Harris Tweeter, our local grocery store.
It just smells like Coke. A little something else.
A little something else we got going on in here. All right. I wonder if it's going. Right. Well, if there's no fizz, if the fizz of Pop Rocks and Oreos, what should Coke have in it to be like an Oreo?
Mushy stuff.
Mushy stuff should be creamier. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh. I taste the Oreo.
Well, I taste the Oreo because I just had Oreos.
Right when you first take it in your mouth and you kind of breathe, I get the scent of it, the taste of it.
The cookie's too overpowering for me. I need a palate cleanser here. I'm not getting it.
I had milk. I had milk to wash it down, so
I'm not tasting anything. Maybe it's flat. I don't know.
No, I am tasting it a bit. It's not one of the things I go out and buy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like a Coke Zero. So who knows?
It's odd. I mean, who even thought of this? It seems like most of the people, it seems like on Discord, the cookies are meh, but the drink's okay.
Okay.
It says that most people are more fond of the drink than they are the cookie.
I didn't mind it. The drink didn't stand out at me. I mean, I wouldn't replace my regular Coke Zero. So, all right. So that was Oreo, Coke Zero, and Oreo Coca-Cola, or Coca-Cola Oreos.
Oreo and Oreo Coke Zero.
Oreo.
Yeah. Oreo Coke, Coke Oreo.
Okay. However y'all want to work on this. If you can find it, great. I know I was told that they are not getting any more in the store, so get it while you can. I haven't talked about this in a while, and that's over at miniaturemarket.com. Did you know if you go into that search engine at the top and you just type in a word such as clearance, it will load all the games that are currently on clearance. So I went out. I know. It makes it so easy for you. So maybe there's something that you didn't pick up in the back room, sell, or maybe they've just put some stuff. I mean, it's hard to keep track of all the stuff they have on clearance over there. Go over there, type in the word clearance, and you may find some stuff that you said, oh, wait, I really wanted that. So, for instance, when I talked to you, if you have the game Viscounts of the West Kingdom, one of the inserts are on clearance right now, so you can pick that up. Skyliner's a game that, I remember seeing out there. Four Gods is out there that's on clearance. So be sure to go over to miniaturemarket.com, type in clearance, and up will pop a lot of stuff that they have on sale, including card backs, card boxes, all kinds of stuff. We got some D&D 5e RPG, Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon King. Hey, it's down $40 from $144 to $115. miniaturemarket.com.
I've always been a fan of a lot of games from the publisher Matago, and I've kind of gotten into area influence games over the past several years. So when we got a chance to play Galactic Renaissance from designer Christian Martinez, I thought, oh, this looks kind of cool. It's sci-fi. It looks like there's planets that are being explored, and you're trying to deploy your people to planets. And if you have influence over a planet, you get to control the planet and get special abilities. But there's also card play, so there's kind of a little bit of deck building to it. So this game that plays 2 to 4 players and a playing time of around 90 minutes, depending on the player count. Each of us, Tony, are starting with a same deck of cards. You're going to draw cards into your hand. You're going to play a card on your turn. You're going to take the action of that card, and you might have the option to play an additional card if the card tells you that you can continue to play or play again. Until you decide not to play any more cards, you draw back up, and then it's the next person's turn. And over the course of the game, you're trying to earn victory points that can be earned by forcing a scoring phase to happen where you can score some different victory point cards that are randomly put out at the beginning of the game. So there's a little bit of variability in the game. And these victory point cards will actually change over the course of the game. So there's different ways during the game to actually earn points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's it. So the playing of the individual cards, I mean, there's some games where when you're playing the cards, you know, you get to choose which ones you want to play. Here, it's a blind draw. That's something I really enjoyed about this game. It was not having, you know, when you see those games that have a set deck at the beginning.
Oh, you mean like a Concordia where you have the entire hand to choose from?
And you eventually have to refresh.
Yes.
When you first brought this out, I was like, is that what I'm going to do here? But it wasn't. So I was very pleased by this. And like you, and you said it, the being able to have the dual action cards, because sometimes there was another part to this that, you know, if your emissaries are out there, everybody's trying to get along, but sometimes we don't. And we create some disorder. And that's one of the things you have to resolve and when your turn is over and your emissaries are out on the board, you have to look and see if there's some disorder going on. Like there's too many emissaries on this planet. And that's where you can have that player interaction. And when we talk about games, we always think, well, you know, there wasn't a lot of player interaction here. There wasn't a lot of player interaction here. We had some disorder. So what did you think of that step in the game? Because other than that, you're absolutely right. You're playing cards to move emissaries out there to get control, to allow you to score various points based on the victory point objectives that are out there on the hub planet. And then there's that disorder action where you may want to thwart. Is that the right word? Thwart other players.
Thwart other players?
That's the word I was trying to find.
So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have random planets dealt with these, what they call stability tiles. And these stability tiles have the number of pieces that can be on that planet. And if you exceed that amount, then that's where this disorder thing comes in. But if you happen to have control, more pieces than anybody else on the planet, there's a certain card in your deck that will say, hey, you get to take control of this planet. And there's a token that you could put on your player board, and then you can activate that to do special things. So you are fighting for control over certain planets to possibly get the planet token that will give you an additional ability. Or sometimes you may be fighting over things, for example, to be able to score points. And like I said, these objective cards are all very different. There was one that said, hey, you're going to get a victory point for every planet where you have just exactly 2 of your pieces on the board. And that's where the card play comes in, because the cards allow you to send emissaries out onto the board to move between planets. You can get additional cards in your hand because there's another stack of cards that you can draw from in order to modify your deck. And those specialist cards will give you special abilities that could possibly affect other players. So there is a little bit of player interaction, maybe not as much as like a small world where you're just constantly fighting and doing things here. But the disorder part of the game, which was what I thought was very interesting, because at the end of a player's turn, like you said, if there's more pieces on a board than it's allowed, starting with the first player, they have a choice to make. They have to take one of their pieces off the planet and put it back into their reserve, or take 2 pieces off and move them to one of their allied planets. Then every person after that goes around the table and has to make that same decision. Once you completed a round, if there's enough space is left on the board for everybody to have a spot on the planet, great. The disorder is now over. If there's still too many pieces on the board, you go another round. So sometimes you actually want to force a disorder to hopefully try to either take over a planet or at least maybe possibly force somebody else off of it.
And that was one of the challenges. I didn't feel like we were using that well enough in this game. I felt like I kept missing something with the disorder, that we needed to be able to do this more often. One of the things is on one of the cards of being able to explore a planet where you just get a planet that you put out there. I mean, we had a ton of these planets around it, but you got to have emissaries that you can do this on.
Emissaries are like your player pieces.
Your player pieces, right. And there's institutes as well, which is there's another card that allows you to put out an institute, which is permanent. It stays there, and it helps you with your control. And institutes allow you to draw more cards into your hand, which is very important. I enjoyed it, but I felt like I missed something with this game.
I did feel like that we didn't use a lot of the planet powers.
Right.
Some of them we just didn't take a lot of advantage of. Some of them were better than the others. So there were some planets you just didn't really, I don't care if I don't own it. But depending on the scoring objective, you might want to own it. And at the very beginning of the game, there's only 2 scoring objectives that can occur. And when you go to the hub, you force the hub planet, you force a scoring to happen. You'll score as many points as you can. As you move around the victory point track, there's certain triggers on the victory point track that will change those objective cards. It's going to add a third one. And then the other 2 are going to change over to a card that's underneath them. So eventually you're going to see 5 different objectives over the course of the game. So it's constantly changing. One thing I do like is after you play your cards, you must take them in the order that they were played and put them on the bottom of your deck. So you can start to set the order of your deck so that you know, as you start drawing back through the deck, you know the order stuff's going to come up in and you can plan for it. I like that. Okay. It does add a little bit of planning mechanics to it.
I was sitting there thinking, okay, the specialist. I know you mentioned this as a different card. These are those kind of higher power, overpowered cards, but they weren't truly overpowered. But they would come into play and they would give you some really cool effects. But I also like that, and some of your starter cards have this, they have the disorder ability on it, that when a disorder starts, you can play these cards to help either resolve the disorder or lessen the impact to you. I found those that if I had used those better, maybe there would have been a lot more interaction, stored those up. But it's like, man, I couldn't ever get them in the hand at the same time. So to your point, it was like I needed to do a better job of planning, of getting those cards in the stack in the correct order.
Now, another interesting thing, too, is the game ends as soon as somebody hits 30 points. But here's the kicker. If you get over 20 victory points but don't hit 30, you actually slide back down to 20 victory points. What that means is, in order to win, you must score at least a minimum of 10 points on your turn to be able to win. You got to be able to go from 20 to 30 to win the game. I really like that. So it's not like somebody could just get a cheap point and win. No, you got to plan accordingly. I got to make sure to plan that when I play the card that's going to allow me to do my scoring, I've got the board set up in a state that I can at least get 10 points from the victory point conditions that are on the board at that time. So I like that of having to plan for that final turn. And that's where player interaction comes in, right? It's at that point we're going, oh man, you and I were back and forth. It's like, either one of us could possibly win if we can just get that 10 points. Could I disrupt you, Tony? Could I possibly break up some of your stuff that's going to give you victory points so that if you do play that victory point card, you won't get the 10 points you need to win?
Yeah, but then I felt like it was kind of like in a race. We were racing towards the end, and it was like the first one to get this, we knew they would have it. So how can I, if I don't have the right cards, that's where the disorder comes in. That's where I think, I wish I could have, if I had the right cards, I could have possibly stopped you. That was getting the disorder to the planets, or to the hub planet where you do the scoring. That's where it became the battle. So yeah, I think that was one of the misses on my part, was kind of just saying, hey, how am I going to stop you? I really didn't concentrate on trying to get you off that planet, off the hub. And now one thing we haven't mentioned that was something else I liked was, in order to explore or move between planet to planet, there were warp gates. And these warp gates are set based on, first off, the warp gate at your planet to begin. The person who explored, they get to set that warp gate, the very first one. And then,
which is a color.
And
Yep.
or if you're colorblind, there's symbols.
Shapes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also where the cosmic Jojo Rabbit is.
Jojo Rabbit. That's right. So there's 3 different color gates. There's blue, red, and yellow. And whatever planet, like you said, you're initiating from, it's going to have a certain color gate associated with. If it's multiple, you get to pick one. And then wherever Jojo Rabbit is, Jojo Rabbit, I can't believe I'm saying this, that's going to be the other color gate at that planet. And then Jojo Rabbit moves to the next space. If it just so happens that, let's say I'm coming from a blue planet and Jojo's sitting on a blue marker, then the only way to get to that planet is through another blue gateway. Mm-hmm. So you're either going to have 1 or 2, except for the hub, which always has 3 because you can always get to the hub.
Right.
I thought that was clever.
I did too. So you don't have to worry about ever being locked out of the hub or having an emissary over there. And I did like how you had to give up some control of your planets to be able to get your emissaries over there. And then you had to remove them and get them back in play. That was a good way. They come back out. You could either place them out on the other planets or onto your home planet to get them out, heading out. So there was a lot of positives to this game for me. I mean, we played it with 3 people. I felt that was a good number. I don't want to play this with 4. And I don't want to play with 2. I think 3 for me is the sweet spot. It didn't stay on the table too long, but especially now that I know how to play it and the sequence of the cards. I can quickly move through that. And even if we get a new player to play with us or something, I think we could get them to pick it up fairly quickly. The teach is not that bad.
Yeah, like you said, the rules are simple. Play a card. Everything that you can do is written on the card itself. That's why you just really got to understand how the cards work. The rules are very straightforward in itself. Now, I will say this is a table hog. Mm-hmm. You need a big table because as you explore planets, all these new pieces of cardboard are coming out all over the table. So that is kind of one of those things that you just can't sit at a small kitchen table and play. Mm-mm. And if you're playing with 4 people, I can't imagine the amount of space that you'll need for this. So this is going to be a table hog. So I'm in the same boat. I enjoyed it. I think it's an easy teach. It's one of those that if I came back 6 months from now and wanted to play again, I could pick it up really quick. Mm-hmm. Because, that's right. We all got the same cards. You play a card. If an action has go again, you can chain cards on top of each other. Oh, okay. I kind of get this. Let's go. That sort of deal. So I appreciate games that once you've learned them once, it'd be easy to pick up again. And that's what I think this game is.
I agree with you. So give it a shot if you like this type of game where you kind of are sitting back, waiting, buying your time, and you get that mad rush at the end.
This is Galactic Renaissance from Matago Games.
Game Toppers LLC. Head over there, then scroll down a little bit, and you can find the Late Pledge Now button. But don't press that one. Keep scrolling. Go on down to where you can see the transform your tabletop into high-quality battlefield. Click on that, and it'll take you directly to the Galactic Kickstarter 4.5. That's right. The last pledge that they ran over at Game Toppers. They got something new in the works as always. But so don't miss out on this. We've talked about this. He's got all these big bundles in there. He's got some new thematic mat that may interest you. If you already have a Game Toppers, maybe you want to get some of those inlays that go in there and they can be customized to help your wrist as you're sitting there holding those cards waiting. By the way, did you know that the Game Toppers rail system, you can actually put your cards in the rail and it can hold it for you, so you don't have to worry about that? It's these little things that he thought of that makes the Game Toppers system so ingenious. And then to be able to retrofit it with legs. I mean, good gosh. I mean, the man's he's got brilliant ideas and he makes them come to bear. So be sure to head over to Game Toppers LLC or head over to Kickstarter and type in Game Toppers 4.5 so you can get that late pledge in.
Every year, we always love to talk about the Toy Hall of Fame finalists. We talk about all the nominees, and we're going to pick 3 of the ones that we think that are going to get in. And then when the winners are announced, and then we have the inductees, we'll actually talk about who got in and whether we were correct or not. So, Tony, have you looked over the list?
I have.
Of this year's?
I most certainly have, and I'm very pleased with this list. And I knew some definite contenders, And some ain't going to happen.
So let's just go through it real quick. The game Apples to Apples.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of surprised that's there.
Me too. That's I know it's a mass market game, one of the ones that got big recognition when it first came out. So I was surprised it made the list as well.
And there's a lot of clones of this too. Maybe that's why, because it had so many clones of, hey, can you guess the word sort of deal? I mean, there's so many games like that out there right now.
Right. So maybe the Apples to Apples people said we need to be on this list. I don't know. Okay.
You're still enjoying that Oreo.
I took 3 out of the package. I haven't had my dessert. Leave me alone.
Mine was a little stale. Okay, the next one, Balloon. This had better not win.
Why? It's an amazing toy.
No, it was not made to be a toy. It was just something that was made, and then somebody said, oh, look, we can blow it up and knock it around the room like a ball. This like stick to me. I don't think this is worthy of Hall of Fame material right here.
How much fun do you have with a balloon? You give a kid a balloon, and the first thing they're going to do is they're going to play with it. They're going to walk. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to have it. Boys will eventually take it, and they'll become a punching bag. Okay? Number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2, you can rub it on your clothes, and it can stick to you, and it can become a hat.
This balloon is my hat.
The balloon's my hat.
It can teach you science.
It can scare somebody when it pops. What's inside of it makes your voice funny if it's helium. Don't tell me how balloon is not a toy. A balloon is a toy. It's up to the imagination on how you do it. You can decorate them. So yeah, okay, you go ahead and you say, oh, but when it makes it in there, I'm going to be laughing.
All right, next is Choose Your Own Adventure books. I love doing these. Did you ever do this as a kid?
Once.
Oh, didn't really float your boat.
I mean, Choose Your Own Adventure book. Yeah, what was it? It's running me of Mad Libs. I know you go to this page. I know Mad Libs was, write the adjective, write the verb, things like that. It all just seemed like the same stuff to me, but Choose Your Own Adventure book. Okay, read, if you make this decision, go to this page or go to this page,
Yeah, in fact, over October, I'm going to do the book that came out from Aconite Games. It's the Arkham Horror, kind of Choose Your Own Adventure. So, but it's a little bit more in depth. You do skill checks and all this stuff, but based on how well you do, you turn to a different page in the book. So I'm going to try that. So yeah, I enjoyed these growing up. Hess toy trucks. I don't think I ever had a Hess truck.
I never had a Hess truck. I did try to sell Hess trucks for an aunt, one of Donna's aunts. Problem is he had taken them out of the package, so they were no longer mint in box, and they were worthless. But that was a huge collector's thing around Christmas. You would always go to the Hess. There aren't any Hesses in our area, so we wouldn't know about this.
But I mean, I did see them in toy stores and stores and stuff.
Yeah, because it wasn't, I think Hess, I'm pretty sure it was a gas station, Hess gas stations. And you'd stop in around Christmas and you'd get your Hess trucks. The next one, oh yeah, I can complete. My Little Pony.
That could be a contender.
That is, yeah, I think that's a big contender. Well, it did cartoons, now was My Little Pony the cartoon that made the toys? I think that was kind of like, He-Man, they did the cartoon for the toy or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember which came first.
Yeah. So that's going to be a huge one. Next is the bane of my existence. Phase 10, the card game.
How? Okay, I need to go back and look. Has stuff like Uno and stuff already been gone through? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And now we're down to phase 10. That's the best they can do.
The thing about sales, people tell me, they go, well, what's one of your favorite card games? And I'll tell them, and they go, have you ever played phase 10? And I go, yeah. And then I put bamboo shoots up my fingernails. And they're like, what do you mean? It's a great game. I'm like, it just takes forever. And anybody who listens to the podcast knows I hate games that take forever. So one of our good listeners said, hey, do phase 10 Scramble where you can do any of the 10 phases at any time. And once you do them, it's off the list. That made a world of difference, and it was the only way I would play it with my family.
Ah, okay. All right. Next, the Pokemon trading card game.
How's this a toy?
It's more so a toy than a balloon. It's a game. You play with it. And it was made to be a toy, as something that you play. A balloon wasn't invented to be a toy.
All right. So you're telling me Star Wars Unlimited is a toy?
Yes.
That's a stretch, man. I'm just telling you.
I went and checked. Magic the Gathering was inducted in 2019.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure that should have been inducted. Because of that, I'm not so sure about this one going in?
It's collectible to me. It's a collection. It's a collectible thing. I mean, it's got to go in. Just how big Pokemon is.
I mean, they already have another TCG though. It's big, sure.
I mean, it's one of those things where think what it brought. I mean, the cartoons, the video games, all that. Well, the video games probably brought the card game.
Yes. Yeah. Video game was first. No, it's a good contender. It's just interesting. It's like, well, if they do this, will Yu-Gi-Oh be next? Will they just keep going down the TCG path? We'll see. Remote control cars. Man, I loved remote control cars as a kid.
Did you ever get professional in the racing?
In the racing?
Yeah, the remote control car racing professional, where you would go to various tracks and you would build your remote control cars. It's not like a soapbox derby, and they would race and they'd have all these derbies and stuff. Oh, okay. See, to me, this is a sport.
That would be cool, though.
This is a sport.
There is a place in the Monroe Mall that has slot cars.
Yeah.
And you can actually build and design your own slot car from the ground up. And they're racing. I assume people kind of do the same thing with remote control cars, kind of probably build their own custom cars and everything. But remote control cars I loved. I loved playing with as a kid. So we're getting more into some of the more techie stuff, as we go along, it seems like with each of these inductees.
Right.
All right, I'll let you announce the next one because I think this is one of your faves right here, isn't it?
Oh, it's Sequence, and which is a card game where you play a card, place a chip, and if you can make a sequence of 5 chips, then hey, you got a sequence, and depending on the number of players, depending on how many sequences you need to form. Yes, I make my own sequence boards. It's one of my wife's favorite games. It's one of those games where it's I can process text and emails while everybody's playing. I can see why this is on here. I can see why this is on here more than I think Phase 10. I don't know. I don't know what sold more. Phase 10, it's a smaller box, easy to travel versus Sequence. But yeah, I'm kind of confused why Phase 10 and Sequence are on this list.
Is the order of cards set or is it random when you make a board?
And Sequence, and not, it depends. Mine are set.
Okay.
And it's set by suits. Mine are set a certain way. The ones you buy, they run around in I think it's a clockwise pattern of the suits and spiral inward, where mine are grouped.
Because I was looking at the board here, and I was trying to figure out what the pattern was here on this one.
Yeah, it should go clockwise pattern with the suits. It should start I think with the 2 of hearts, then 3 of hearts, then 4 of hearts, and then keep going around. I don't remember what the pattern is on the board, but I believe it spirals.
Next one is the stick horse or the hobby horse. Have you ever seen the official hobby horse competitions?
No, this scares me.
Okay, on YouTube, go look up hobby horse competitions where people basically go around like they're on a horse, holding the hobby horse between the legs and jumping over gates and stuff. And they try to do it in a certain amount of time and look like they're skilled and stuff as they do it. It is the weirdest looking thing.
See, when I saw hobby horse, I wasn't thinking of the stick horse. I'm glad you said that. I was thinking of the one that had the springs. That's where you would ride. Oh, yeah. That's what I was thinking of, where that cannot be made probably anymore without enough protection around the springs. How many times I got pinched by those springs? I'm surprised I have 10 fingers.
Along with merry-go-rounds, that's not something you'll find in a park anymore.
Those things are all dangerous. That's just crazy stuff. No, I will go look that up.
Trampoline. Wow, this was made in 1945. I thought it would have been older than that.
Me too. I would have thought so as well. Speaking of springs and getting your fingers caught, but I can see why this is a toy. I mean, you're going out, you got a trampoline in the yard. I mean, back in our day, there was no nets around you to catch you for doing stupid stuff. There was no padding on those springs. You won't get on that trampoline? Go for it, big boy. And now you can go to an entire facility of trampolines and play dodgeball.
Trampoline parks.
Yeah.
Basketball. Have you seen Now,
that's cool.
Trampoline basketball would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I could never do it because I'd be falling all the time. I mean, I never could do trampoline. I mean, I could never stay in the center. And I remember trampoline day when you had gym in elementary school. That was always the best time in the world. We all stood around there and everybody got to jump up and down a few times and then you got off. Wasted an entire hour as everybody would jump a few times.
Try to do flips.
No, I couldn't. No.
I could do a flip. I necessarily wouldn't always land on my feet, but I could do it.
Okay, I could not. I'd break something. That'd be an easy break.
And the last item.
Transformers. More than meets the eye.
Robots. Yeah, was going to say Robots in Disguise, but yeah, that's the same line too.
Is it? I never watched it. I don't know.
Okay, the Coke's getting to me.
Oh man. Okay. Well,
A lot of gas. Transformers. So we got two big licensed product here: Transformers and My Little Pony.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Going head to head, and they both came out about the same time in the 1980s, mid to early 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're right in the same ballpark, and both have had a pretty huge impact. Which do you think would you say is a bigger deal, Transformers or My Little Pony?
Probably Transformers.
I would agree.
And not just because I'm a boy. It's just that I felt
No. Still, I mean, look at all the big Transformer movies that's come out over the years. In fact, the latest one that just came out, the animated one, I heard it was really good. It's like when Megatron and Optimus Prime are young and they're friends. I've had some people that I've known that's gone to see it and says it's actually a pretty decent movie, so I want to check it out sometime.
So they were buddy.
Mm-hmm.
They changed each other's oil or something. I don't know what they did. I don't know.
Watch where you putting that dipstick.
Yeah. Speaking of family friendly.
All right, here we go. So let's each pick three that we think is going to get inducted. So what will your first pick be?
My Little Pony.
Okay.
All right, yours?
I'm going to have to go. I'll go with the other one then. I'm going to go Transformers.
Well, I can pick Transformers too, you know.
Yes, we could pick the same ones, 100%. Right. Yep.
So I'm going to then go Transformers.
Okay. My second is, man, I don't know. I'm going to go Trampoline.
Okay. All right. And my third, I got to go with it. It's going to be a balloon.
If you say balloon, I swear if it's balloon. I can't remember how many's inducted each year.
I can't. I think it is 3. I'm not going to head over.
Three or 5.
Yeah.
All right. So then I'm going to have to go with, I'm not picking balloon. I'm not picking balloon. That's probably a long shot. Let's say they're going to want kids to read. I'm going to say choose your own adventure books to try to get kids to get books.
There's no way. It's not going to happen. No. Books, please. If you do that, then I don't remember if Coloring Book made it. So that's not going to happen. So, all right. Well, tell us over in our Discord which ones you think should be inducted or which ones should not be inducted. We really appreciate all the support we get over in Discord. So be sure to head over there today and sign up if you are not a member. And when you do, people will wave at you with some emoji crap, and I may come in and lurk for a little bit. I don't know what I do over there. So we shall see.
And when the winners are announced, we'll come back and discuss those that were inducted into this year's Toy Hall of Fame.
5-minute initiative begins in 3, 2, 1.
I love deduction games. I love logic games. I'm very consistent in saying that when I get to try one, I'm excited because I've enjoyed them. That's why I couldn't wait to try out a new card game from Pandasaurus called Infiltrators. This is from designer John Keane and Leon Keane. Plays 2 to 5 players in 20 to 30 minutes. And we have a deck of cards with a varying number of suits. There's scenarios that you're going to play. And depending on how hard of a scenario you want to do, it's going to determine how you build the deck that you're going to play with. Kind of reminds me a little bit, maybe Tony, like the scenario in the Crew. Mm-hmm. You got the real easy scenarios, then it gets harder over time. But in this game, you're going to have some suspects, some face-down cards out on the table. And one of your actions is to be able to claim one of those suspects and put it in front of you. You can look at it, but nobody else can. Other people are going to try to guess what that card is. And how a guess is made is they're going to take one of the cards that's from their hand and lay it beside another suspect that's on the table. Could be in front of them, could be in front of somebody else. When they do so, whoever owns that suspect will then either put that card vertically beside the face-down suspect card, which means, hey, either the color matches, the number matches, or both do. If you turn it horizontally, it means neither the color nor the number matches. So as we're going around and playing out these cards, the goal is try to deduce what those face-down cards are And depending on the scenario, whichever one it is, you're trying to get all the face down suspects exposed before you run out of bullets, because we have a little cardboard gun with a certain number of bullets. And one thing you can do on your turn is load a bullet into the gun, point it at the suspect and say, "Hey, are you 5 blue?" And then the owner of the suspect will say yay or nay. And like I said, the goal is try to get them all exposed before you run out of bullets.
Now, you mentioned color and number, but it's also, what's the math term? That if it's, what's the math term?
Oh, it's either a multiple or a factor of.
Yes.
Yeah, a good point. Yeah. So, yeah, this is what makes it more, it's not even a matching number. If it's a factor of it. So for example, if somebody puts down a 2 beside my card and my card is an even number, these go up to 15, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's going to go vertical because 2 will go into every one of those.
Mm-hmm. What else you got to say? Because I'll be honest with you. For me, I'm not a fan of deduction games like this. So
you didn't enjoy it?
No, I don't enjoy deduction games like this. They take way too long. I enjoy the crew because I'm playing cards. Here, I'm not really doing anything other than listening to a whole bunch of people talk about what they think it can be, what it can't be, based on, well, we need to do this. It just takes too long for me. And all the deduction games I've played, I've always had a problem with this. And you put social in front of it, then yeah, give me that paper gun and load a real bullet. All right? Because just count me out right then. So I'm glad you enjoyed it if you enjoy these deduction games. But for me, I don't enjoy the part of where you're sitting there having to talk about, well, I think it's going to be a blue 3, and this is why, because of this. Well, I don't. I think it's this. It reminds me of a social deduction games.
You're so stuck on social deduction games, but social deduction games is involved with somebody lying.
I'm not saying that.
And then
it's the argument between people.
It's the talking.
It's the
That's
talking.
right. You are consistent in that. You don't like the whole. See, and I like that part. I like these sitting around, going around the table. It's like, wait a minute. If I play this card, this can give us a little bit of information of possibly what that color is. Another thing I appreciate too is the cards mark which numbers would be a factor or multiple of it. For example, if I play a 12, there's smaller numbers beneath the 12 that says, well, if this 12 is matched up with either a 6, 4, 3, or 2, then this is going to line up with it perfectly, because each one of those is a factor of 12. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate how on the cards they give you a lot of information as far as the multiples and factors of the cards.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, that's really well done. So you got to kind of figure that out.
I appreciate the production of it. I appreciate what they were doing. But these type of games, not for me. So follow Marty and listen to what he's telling you. Okay, I'm done.
Here's the thing. If you don't like deduction games, you're not going to like this. If you're like Tony, and you don't like to sit in there for 5 minutes without anything happening at all because you're trying to discuss, look around the table. Oh, and by the way, this is interesting too, is you have a fixed deck of cards. Once you start running out of cards, one of your actions is you could draw more cards into your hand. But when you do, you take the top card of the draw pile and put it on the discard pile, which means that's just more information that you don't know because now it's face down on the discard pile and you can't look at it. The only way any card can come back from the discard pile into somebody's hand is if somebody guesses correctly what the face down card is in front of another player, then they get to take the top face down card off the discard pile and then they can use it. So drawing cards is wasting other cards. So you try to not draw whenever you don't need to, because if you run out of cards to draw, the game will also end if there's no action you can take on your turn. Like if I can't make a guess, or if I can't draw a card or claim another suspect, then the game also ends that way too. So there's more ways for the game to end than win. And like I said, the scenarios will get tougher over time. Okay, so Tony says if you don't care for deduction games like that, you're not going to like it. Me, I say if you like logic deduction games, I think you're really going to dig it. So this is Infiltrators, 2 to 5 players from Pandasaurus Games, and you just need to decide for yourself if this is your type of game or not.
5-minute initiative is complete.
Eschenspiel is over, but you can still get some of those hot games that came out from Essen, from Portal Games, such as Imperial Miners, Aztecs versus Weirdlings expansion, which I want in my hand. I've told Ignacy I need this in my hand because I want to play Imperial Miners again with this expansion. The new game Resurgence, which was a big Kickstarter, and Ignacy has picked it up and brought that back out. And we haven't played Neuroshima Hex in a while, Tony. Maybe when we get Desert Tribes, we'll pull out the Neuroshima Hex board and try out this new faction. And he has a new book out. It's Board Games That Tell Stories 3. I didn't realize it was going to be a trilogy.
I didn't either.
He's like Tolkien of the board game group. He wrote a trilogy here.
I wonder who's going to play him in the movie.
We'll have to ask him, what movie star would you like to play you? We have to ask him that and see what he says.
Yeah,
That'd be hilarious.
See what he comes up with from that standpoint when they put all 3 books into a movie series. I don't see how that could last for 8 hours or however long those was. But hey, you never do know.
Peter Jackson stretched 1 book into 3 movies, so if there's anybody could do it, he can do it. So anyway, you can go over to shopportalgames.com. The Imperial Miners and Resurgence has a bonus item with it right now if you order from them, and we're talking inexpensive. The expansion for Imperial Miners is only $16, Resurgence is only $55, the Neuroshima Hex is only $10, and that hardback book is $26. Get over to shopportalgames.com, and you can buy all that stuff that everybody else got to see over at Esch & Spiel.
All right, what do we have next to talk about from Mega MooseCon is Manhattan Project War Machine from Grail Games, designed by Jan Gonzalez. Now, Marty, have you ever played the original Manhattan Projects? And I think of the
I have not.
I have not either. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to, but I never have. I've never gotten it, never bought it. I guess you can still buy them. I don't know if that was a TMG game. I can't remember. I can type it into BGG, but I'm lazy and I don't want to. So, Manhattan Project War Machine. It's one of the big things people need to know. This is a dice placement game. Dice that are workers, that you are out there trying to build, in my simple mind, trying to build engines that we can use. Very similar to a game we recently played, Forges of Ravenshire.
Yes.
Yes. On your turn, you're going to roll some dice. They're your workers. And based on the symbols, you're going to be able to place them on a central board that will give you the ability to collect resources that are on your board or do actions or build things. But if you get a crappy roll, you got to take one of them. You get to roll again. Then you can roll a second time. That's it. You're stuck with what you got. So you place those out on the board, and there's certain restrictions on how you place them, like I said, based on the symbols. But if I place it with the top hat symbol in the column, this is one of Marty's favorite things. I enjoy it too.
The top hat symbol. So every section of the board, there's 3 different main icons. Mm-hmm. There's 3 different industries, basically, that's represented on the board. One's a top hat.
One's a Dodger wrench.
We made that joke all night long. And then the other is a star.
But anyway, if I place the wrench or the star in my zone, I'm going to take an action. Now, Marty, he's sitting to my left. Marty, would you like to take a follow-up action in that area?
Yes, I would. In Puerto Rico style, if they take one of those main die actions, everybody else around the table gets to take one of the more minor actions. Each section of the board is broken into like the major symbol, the wrench, the star, or the top hat, along with a lightning bolt. So if Tony places the wrench, I get to take any of the lightning bolt actions that are on the wrench side of the board. If he takes a star action, any of the lightning bolt actions on the star side of the board, etc. And everybody gets to do something. So everybody gets a little bit of something, which means I'm engaged the entire game because typically I get to do something on somebody else's turn.
Right. And this is also where I think player interaction is too. I could be looking at Marty's board and Bert's board and saying, hey, if I do this action first that they're all chomping at the bit for me to do, then they might be able to purchase a building that I really want. So I don't really want to do that. Mm-hmm. So maybe I need to not do that first. So you need to plan ahead with your worker placement. Now, you mentioned or I called it the lightning bolt, the energy symbol.
Yes.
As long as there is a basic worker in place, the top hat, the star, or the wrench, I can put an energy symbol on the board, and there's no follow-up action.
Right. Yeah. If you place a die that's showing the energy symbol, you get the lesser of the actions, but we get nothing in return. And sometimes that's strategic, right? Sometimes it's like, I don't want any of you guys to do anything else. Yeah, I'm going to get less resources by placing this, but at least you guys get nothing.
That's right. Now, there's another one. You've got to always have a wild symbol, and that is the nuclear power symbol that's going to come out there, and it generates radiation. In the rule book, they say waste. Spent fuel cores. We can go into all of that, whatever. But that's your wild symbol. It can go wherever it wants to go. So that's a good thing. But it does generate pollution, radiation, which is going to be negative victory points at the end. But there are ways to get rid of that during the game. So those are the three workers that you are trying to place. After you go through, place all your workers, everybody's done the follow-up actions, then you get to go to your engine and place those dice on the engine to generate maybe more resources, maybe some victory points, whatever, because these buildings give you that ability to generate resources, victory points, or in-game scoring that does nothing for you during the game, but it will get you some victory points at the end.
So when you're placing all those dice out there, each one of those main sections has a type of building that you can purchase. And when you purchase that building, it goes directly on your player board. Some are associated with the star symbols, some the top hat, some the wrench. And you can activate those buildings. So if I have a star that I placed on the main board to do something, and I already have a building on my board that can be activated with a star, I pull that die off the main board, put it on my player board, and activate the buildings that are there. Depending on the type of building, I can activate it twice, or it may require 2 dice in order to activate the building. But like you said, Tony, this is kind of a resource management game. There's 3 different types of main resources. There's food, there's steel, and there are coins. All those are used for different transactions, turning in to get something else. Typically it's buying buildings or getting more money, with the whole goal of just generating victory points. So at that point, it's kind of like a straight Euro. 3 main resources that you got, trying to create an engine to generate those victory points. What's unique is the dice placement and the follow-up actions that you can do with those.
Now, there is something interesting. You have to upgrade your own player board, and that becomes a big thing throughout as the game progresses, because you may not have enough area to score or store all your food or all your coins. So you've got to flip those things over. This is where I think the game kind of sets a strategy for you. But I found that when we were playing this, that you can gain more workers. That's an action you can take. If you have enough coin, you can buy more workers. You can get more salaried employees.
Unlike additional dice to use, up to 5.
Now, that's the first thing I'm going to do in this game, because I
100%.
want to take more actions.
And we all did that. We all wanted to get whatever resources we need so that we could take the upgrade action on our player board to flip one of the cards over that unlocked an additional die for us.
My next step is I'm going to unlock additional storage for my resources. That's step 2.
Yep.
Third thing is I'm going to look at building buildings that are going to help me generate victory points at the end of the game and possibly meet a hidden secret objective. So from the randomness of this game, it's all in the dice. But I feel like you will be very scripted in how you play the game.
I've always been of the type, if I can get more actions on my turn, I'm going to do whatever I can early in the game to get those actions, additional actions. And in this case, it's unlocking additional dice.
Right.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. But if you don't unlock your storage, then having all that extra dice isn't going to help you.
Well, but then I'll have extra dice in order to get the additional resources to unlock the storage. You have these nice player boards that are dual layered for moving your storage or your resource tokens on the board. And just off to the right, you have 2 additional 2-layer boards that you can flip over that has additional slots for more food, more steel, more coin, more victory points. Because actually, you cap out at 9 points until you start doing an upgrade, right? If you move to 10 points, but you hadn't unlocked that second storage, you don't get those extra points. You've maxed out. Right. You need to unlock it so that you can go then from 10 to 19. And then there's another additional storage board you open up where you can go up to 29.
Right. So for me, I enjoyed playing it, enjoyed the fact that I could take other actions, but I did feel like it was this is what I'm going to have to do every time I play it.
You feel like every time you sit down, you're going to follow these exact same steps. Right. Unlock additional workers, unlock storage, create an engine.
That's it. And that's what I think I'm going to do.
I agree with all that. I do like the fact that I stay engaged the entire time because I possibly get something on somebody else's turn. I appreciate that. The game moved pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to play a certain number of rounds based on the number of players. For example, with 4 players, you'll play 4 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And, with 2 players, play 6, etc. So it's timed in that aspect. So you know exactly how many rounds you're going to get to play during that turn. It is important to get the right number of resources you want to get buildings. Probably be fighting over other people for potential buildings because as buildings are bought, they're going to get cheaper over time because they slide down in value as they're taken and new ones will come out. The biggest knock on this game, and this was actually told to me by Grell themselves. They said, look, we want you guys to check out this game, but hear me out. The rulebook is not very good. They said there's a lot of issues with the rulebook. They're looking to reprint it. There is a FAQ on BGG. They said, please read that FAQ and print out the sheet that talks about how each of the individual buildings work, because that's not in the original rule book. Mm-hmm. Typically in rule books on these buildings, they'll explain to you how they work. It's not in the original one. If you're listening to us right now and you want to try this game, you must print out these rules.
Yes.
Because it has verification. There's some wrong wording in the rules. And he told me that multiple times. Look, we know we got to fix this. Please make sure to go to print out the errata, FAQ, etc., so that you can play the game correctly. Once we did that, we understood it and we did play it correctly. So just know that going in, you're going to need more than the rule book that's included in the box.
Mm-hmm. It plays fast, doesn't stay on the table. It's an engine builder. Like to give it some more opportunities to just see if it becomes very repetitive for me. Great components. Well, I think I've already said that. But anyway, hey, if you get a chance, definitely give this one a shot. That is Manhattan Project War Machine from Grail Games. All right, we're running a little long, so we're going to keep this short. I don't see anything in the show notes about video games.
We're not running long. We're only like an hour 15 or so.
We're running along, and hopefully you whatever commercial just played in front of us here, you weren't offended by, but just let us know what you think.
It may not have been a commercial. It could have been nothing.
It could have been nothing. That's right. There may have been a timestamp, and you wouldn't have heard anything. We don't know when this thing's going to go active, but Marty's doing a good job. We're just going with the flow, man. We're just chilling, making this happen. Oh my goodness!
Oh, by the way, I mentioned it last time. I finished Astrobot.
Yeah,
very clever, fun game. Okay. I enjoyed my time with it. It took me like 15 hours, which is the perfect length. It didn't overstay its welcome, but it's one of those that I haven't platinumed it. There's other little things I can go back and do if I want to. For a person who's not into platformers, it was easy enough for me to where I could actually finish the game and still enjoy it, and I didn't break my TV by throwing the controller across the room.
Okay, so you didn't have any of those frustrating moments. All right, well, good. I haven't gone upstairs to do any NCAA in a while, and I need to go do that. Still doing the Guild Wars. Still haven't made it past the first island in Janthier Wilds. You don't realize just how much there is to do in that game, but I finished the Path of Fire expansion finally and played it.
Yep.
As a solo. Just shoot me now. I hate, and I know that's a strong word, but doing it as a solo against these huge bosses, it took me 45 minutes to finish it because I kept dying because they're just so strong, so powerful. And it's a good thing that if you die, you have to restart it, because that would have made me uninstall this game. You know,
you could have just called me. I could have come help.
It was during the day sometime, and you probably were at work, and I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
But even with 2 players, I don't think we would have made it.
Mm.
You know, these expansions that have been out for years, nobody's going back and doing. You know, they're just farming mats. So it's not like I could get up a group to suddenly go do this.
Well, the Old Timers Guild are usually pretty quick to respond if anybody needs help. They come and join in and help you out.
Well, I didn't need that. I needed to go kill a champion somewhere. And I'm like, hey, is anybody on this map to be able to come and kill a champion? Because I needed to unlock my skimmer's ability to go underneath the water. And I had to go kill this champion to get a key. And I was like, okay, I need help killing this thing. Guy comes in and says, yeah, I'm here to help you. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, dude, all ascended gear, and it's just like, okay, so that's what the purpose of all that high level stuff is.
Yep. And which I have none of.
None of it.
Yeah.
I don't either. And I'm just like, man, that makes a big difference. He's like, did you get the key? And I said, I don't know. You killed him fast enough, but thank you very much. I do appreciate you. So yeah, I did get the key and I was able to finish that out. So that's where I am on my video games. And someday, as soon as this storm gets over, we're going to have to get some Star Wars because I think there's a new expansion coming out. Star Wars trading card game.
There is in November. In fact, go subscribe to our YouTube channel at Roll Dice Take Names. It's because after this episode, we're supposed to get a preview card that's going to be coming out.
Okay.
About a week after this episode drops. So you and I are going to be getting some art for a new card, and we'll make a video talking about that new card to be coming out, and the expansion is coming out in November, and I am pumped. All the cards look really cool. It's the idea of sacrificing guys to make things cheaper or triggering based on the number of people that you have on the battlefield. The battlefield is going to get awfully wide all of a sudden with all these tokens, so I can't wait to see what our preview card is, and just hit me up for lunch. Zaxby's or Bo's, I'm there, man.
I know. Just got to find the time. You know how it is. All right, with that, I'm going to roll my dice on out of here.
And I'm going to take my names out of here. Or something like that.
Close enough.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening. Don't forget you can come join our Discord channel. You can do so over at RollDiceTakeNames.com. You'll see the link there. You can follow us on our socials at Dice and Names, and that is everywhere, whether you're on Twitter or X, whatever it is, Instagram, Blue Sky. Make sure to come back next episode, and I'm out.
So let's bring it back down. What was the one thing Pete Rose did that became very popular when we played baseball? Do you remember what that was?
Head first slide.
Head first slide.
Very dangerous, though.
Absolutely. I don't know how many times I skinned my chin.
This show is part of Poderation, the nerdy podcast network. From D&D and video games through to ancient history and books of all genres, we are a group of podcasts all about things you can nerd the heck out about. We are currently looking for new podcasts to join the network. So if you know someone who wants to take their nerdy podcast to the next level, send them to poderation.com to get in touch.